Alright, here I am going to save you some money. This is actually the second video that I'm doing. The first tool that I came up with worked pretty good, but I think that there's a better solution, a whole lot easier, save you some time, save you some effort. First, I just wanted to show off my custom airbrush paint job that I did here. Did it myself. You might recognize that as a panel from Dark Knight Returns. Okay, so when your clutch goes out on your Sportster at about 40,000 miles, which it will because of Harley's poor design of putting in the spring plate in the middle of your clutch pack that is held together by some puny little rivets and it flies to pieces, you're going to have to take your clutch disc out of this assembly here and replace them. I replaced mine with a Barnett clutch pack that basically replaces that spring disc with extra clutch plates and fits in there nice. And the issue is, to get your clutch plates out, you've got to get this diaphragm spring compressed and then these snap rings taken out of the middle here so that they'll come loose. There's a couple different ways of doing it. You'll see all kinds of stuff. The way that Harley recommends doing it is buying a $70 specialty tool, and basically what that consists of is a metal ring that mounts around here, and it has a kind of like an arm puller that attaches to this clutch adjustment threaded shaft here and compresses that ring down on top of that diaphragm spring to relieve the pressure, and then you can pull the snap rings out. I'll show you my method. Okay, the tool I built before was basically a PVC end cap that you'd mount on there, but to do that you'd have to get the whole assembly off of the bike, and that included taking off your front sprocket over here over your rotor, which means that you need to have a heavy duty breaker bar. I had to use a cheater pipe on the end of mine to get the extra leverage to bust this nut off because it's so tight on there, and it takes about 200 foot-pounds of torque when you torque it back on. And you also had to have a special linking tool to go between the two sets of teeth here to make sure when you're busting that nut off that it didn't turn these hubs via the chain. And that all worked out pretty well. I mean, it wasn't too hard, it just took extra time. The much quicker way is to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get yourself a 3-inch PVC pipe coupler. Costs just a few bucks. The inner diameter of this is actually right around 3.5 inches, which is a perfect fit for this clutch assembly. What you do is you cut off about 1 inch, actually a little bit less than an inch, all the way around. I used a jigsaw. Cut off 1 inch, make sure you keep it straight because you want the pressure to be even all the way around. And then I just used a piece of scrap steel that I had laying around. This is 3/16 inch thick mild steel. Cut it just long enough to go past the edges on the PVC ring, and then just drill out a hole in the center that's big enough for this adjustment shaft. And then you can use your adjustment nut from the bike to tighten this bar down, which puts even pressure on this ring of PVC plastic, which compresses this diaphragm spring. Tighten it down, keep going until you can see the arms of the spring no longer putting pressure on those snap rings. And once you've got the pressure off the snap rings, then you can use your snap ring pliers or screwdriver, whatever, to pop it out of the grooves that it's in. But be careful, once you do that, this whole plate right here that covers all your clutch disc will just slide right off with this PVC ring still mounted on there, and then your clutch disc should come out. Now the problem with that spring plate that flies apart inside there is when those rivets come loose, it usually does some damage, and you might find that your clutch discs don't just slide out like they're supposed to. They're going to get hung up in there and get bound up. Now that's where the other tool came in handy, because you can take off this whole assembly here and you can have it in your hands and you can twist it around and look at it from different angles and get those clutch discs out of there however you need to. But with it still mounted on the bike, you're kind of limited to having it here at this angle, and you're gonna have to lay down, unless you got it elevated on a stand. You're gonna have to lay down and get them out of there however you need to. Now it's important, whenever you put the new clutch disc in there, make sure you get them lubed up. Don't put them in dry. And before you put them in, go around the entire hub inside there and check for damage. You don't want any burrs of metal sticking up out of there that are going to hang up the new clutch disc as they try to scoot back and forth in there. So go around it. If there's any raised areas created by the damage of those rivets, then you're going to have to use a file and carefully file it down, get it nice and slick so that those clutch discs can slide back and forth past the damaged area. And that's my compression tool for just a few bucks. I can't take full credit for it. I had to look on the internet and I found some photos. There's some guys that did some similar stuff, but I hadn't found a video on it yet, and this just kind of explains it a little bit more clearly. And then sometimes some of those forum threads and stuff, they get removed, and then you're left wondering exactly how did this tool get the job done. But the PVC ring at Lowe's cost, I think it was somewhere under $5, and I had the scrap steel laying around, so save you a little bit of money. You can spend that on new clutch discs.